Om Shanti. Though karma basically refers to both good and bad karma, but people use karma mostly to refer to bad karma. So, is there a way to escape from the consequences of bad karma? Because according to the law of karma, if someone has committed good karma, obviously he'll be reaping the benefit of it. Likewise, if he has done bad karma, obviously he needs to face the consequence of it as well. But if that's the case, what is the need for God, right? Obviously, God helps us out of the consequences of bad karma. Actually, the essence of Srimad Bhagavad Gita itself is all about the teachings of good karma and bad karma and how to escape the consequences of bad karma. So, bad karma refers to the sinful acts. For example, if somebody has committed a grave sin of torturing people due to their power and wealth, some before two births, and in the previous birth, obviously he would have would have born in a poor family, so he would have cultivated the humbleness which he lacked in the birth before that. But in this birth, he may have humbleness, but that doesn't mean he is completely out of the arrogant behavior that he possessed before two births. So, just to test whether he still possesses that tendency to commit sinful acts, he'll be born in a family where everybody triggers him, so that if there is even a tiny amount of arrogance in him from previous births, it will just explode like anything. That's the power of sinful acts. Whenever you do some sin, you are obviously going to become addicted to those sinful acts, that you will keep on doing more and more of those sinful acts repeatedly, despite the punishments you had to face due to your sinful acts. For example, as I mentioned earlier, if someone performed arrogant actions towards his inferior ones before two births, now even though he has humbleness due to his recent birth, now all his family members will be triggering by their arrogant behavior, so that if he has some arrogant behavior hidden in him, it will definitely explode. So the triggering of him by his family members is a punishment for his past sins. But when he got triggered to burst his anger out, then he is committing sin again. Slowly he would be convinced that getting angry is the only way to calm down his family members. But what happens is that quality of getting anger becomes his nature gradually. So he will start exhibiting anger at inappropriate times that will lead him into more and more troubles. That's how he is being punished continuously for his past sinful acts or bad karma. So, how can one escape from the punishment of uh, bad karma? In this example, if he hadn't performed any sinful act before two births, obviously he wouldn't have to face these consequences. Actually, that's the solution to escape from the punishment of the bad karma of his past births. Yes, now he would have to stay calm no matter what happens around him. But that's highly impossible on his own, because obviously after several births soul will lose its power, which means they can't tolerate. The tolerance power decreases birth after birth. That's where God comes to the rescue. He comes to this world towards the end of the world, towards the last 100 years of Kali Yuga or the world. So that is exactly when people have lost almost all their powers. So they can easily triggered to get anger, to get sexual, to get attached, to get jealous, to get ego, because their soul is so weak. So God now informs us about this time cycle, 5,000-year time cycle. God says our souls before taking birth in earth resided along with God in this golden red colored light world called the soul world. God is also a soul, which is why he is called the supreme soul. The difference between God and all other souls is all souls enter the birth and death cycle while God stays away from it, which means he doesn't take birth from a mother's womb just like other souls. Instead, God enters an old man's body in the last 100 years of Kali Yuga to reveal this secret of the time cycle and how the soul gradually loses its power. Because when the soul first enters the earth while it was heaven for the first 2500 years, the soul will be filled with 100% power of purity. When it is 100% pure, obviously it is going to be filled with 100% power of tolerance as well. But gradually the soul loses its power very slowly while it was in heaven, and very rapidly after taking birth in hell. The reason for that is while in heaven we were soul conscious, which means we considered ourselves to be a soul, a tiny point of light that shines like a tiny star in between the eyebrows, which is why Hindus have this habit of wearing religious symbols in between the eyebrows. While they were soul conscious, they would be experiencing eternal bliss, because that's the true nature of souls. Moreover, the heaven was filled with everything they need to feel happy. Whatever they see gives happiness. Whatever they listen to gives happiness. But everything decreases gradually by the end of the first 2500 years. And we lose soul consciousness completely and become body conscious. That's when we become addicted to the sensual pleasures and vices like lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. While we were in heaven, we were absolutely free of these vices and addiction to sensual pleasures, because we experience eternal bliss by being soul conscious. By forgetting that we are souls, we no longer experience eternal bliss. Instead, we look out for happiness through senses, through sensual pleasures. So that decreases our soul power very fastly, which is why we start committing sins after sins. Because when the soul loses its power, it no longer can differentiate between good and bad. So it accumulates sins, because of which it is facing punishments in the form of diseases, natural calamities, and all sorts of relationship problems. And God reveals that our soul has lost almost all of its powers, and it has become very weak, and that is the reason we fall for these 5 vices: lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. And it is because we have become body conscious, we have become slaves for vices and sensual pleasures. So God commands us to get rid of body consciousness and get back to soul consciousness. But we can't do that because our soul has no power to focus its attention to soul consciousness. That's why God asks us to remember God, the powerhouse of all powers. He is always filled with powers. The reason for that is He doesn't take birth like us and lose His power. He always stays away from the birth and death cycle, which is why He is filled with power all the time. He is filled with power to the extent that He is able to fill all the souls with power every 5,000 years once towards the end of Kali Yuga. That's the reason He comes to earth. And He gives a very simple way for us to fill the souls with power. How's that? Just by remembering God as a point of light in the gold and red colored world. So we need to consider ourselves to be the souls first, and then connect our mind to the Supreme Soul who shines like a tiny star in the golden red colored sky. We need to remember Him lovingly as our Father, because He is the Father of all souls. So the more you remember God, the more your souls become pure, which means your soul is getting rid of all the vicious thoughts that's been stored so deeply for the past 2500 years in hell. So all we need to do is to remember God as a point of light, and also we need to listen to the teachings of God daily. God enters an old man's body exclusively to give these teachings called Murli, which is available absolutely free of cost in all Raj Yoga meditation centers that spread across the globe. I'll be giving you the links of the YouTube and websites that give that Murli so that you can make use of it, because that's the only knowledge given directly by God now. It is through that knowledge we souls that is filled with vices get rid of those vices by remembering God and by remembering the important points of Murli that is very much needed for us to get rid of these vices. Yes, by remembering God, your soul slowly is being filled with the power of purity. It becomes as pure as God, depending on the amount of effort you put in remembering God and protecting yourself from the worldly distractions. Because anything you see and listen to in this outside world will trigger you to perform sins. That is why God asks us not to see anything, not to listen to anything from Kali. So all we need to do is to remember God as a point of light as much as possible, and we need to remember the Murli points, and also we need to remember heaven, because that's where we are going to go. And God makes us eligible to enter heaven by inculcating the divine qualities that we originally possessed while we were in heaven. That's what he is doing through his knowledge called Murli. So as you, the soul, becomes purer by remembrance of God, you no longer get triggered by any harsh words. You're not stimulated into getting anger, because now you have the power to tolerate everything, which makes you feel as if you are watching a movie. When somebody shouts at you, you will feel like watching a movie. That's it. You will stay detached from everything, so you no longer feel the pain out of anything that happens outside. So you will be peaceful forever. Now, due to our past bad karma, obviously we'll be getting the consequence of which maybe our family members shout at us constantly. But now we have two weapons. One is the power of remembrance, so that itself will give the power to tolerate anything. And another is the power of knowledge. So God says it is due to your karma they are shouting like that. Before that, before getting this knowledge, you shouted back at them because you think they are it is unjustifiable for them to shout at you and make you lose peace. But now you know that you are responsible for what you are facing. Because of your past karma, they are doing like that. And now you don't want to increase more and more bad karma. So all you need to do is to stay calm by remembrance of God. That's it. So actually you should practice your mind to stay in remembrance of God like forever. Only then, at time of distress, this remembers automatically comes into play and saves you from responding to those angry words. So, as you become stronger and stronger through remembrance of God, you will see the consequence of bad karma or past karma coming very fastly at you. But you should not get afraid, because it is coming to you to help you with settling the karmic account very fastly. Because you are already strong, you will not find it difficult to face the consequences at all. All you need to do is to remember God even more strongly than before, so that the problem that comes in front of you has no power to trigger you. So you no longer feel the pain of the consequence of your bad karma, and you are not performing any bad karma anymore. So you have settled your karmic account once for all. So what's the benefit? You have come out of the sufferings of your bad karma, and you have got more soul power, so that you will start experiencing eternal bliss based on the amount of time you spend in remembering God as a point of light. And above all, you are becoming eligible not only to enter heaven, but to claim the highest status of heaven, which is Sri Narayan. It all depends on your dedicated effort in remembering God without getting distracted by the external attractions. How do you do that? It is by remembering God that you no longer get distracted by the external attractions. When something bad happens to you because of your past karma, you need to be very conscious. You need to stay conscious that this is due to my past karma. All I need to do is to stay as calm as possible in remembrance of God, and after some time it will just fade away on its own. I don't have to get triggered or suffer pain because of it. As long as I am in remembrance of God, I won't suffer pain. If I suffer pain, the only reason is I forget to remember God as a point of light. Only in the absence of the company of God can you experience any suffering and pain. But by remembering God, you are in the company of God. When you are in the company of God, the past karma has no power to punish you. It will come, it will dance in front of you, but it has no capacity to hurt you. You just need to stay calm in remembrance of God. That is what all you need to do. But if you forget this, or when you forget this, then the effect of karma will act upon you and cause immense suffering. So that happens when you are not conscious. So that is why it is highly important to stay conscious, to stay soul conscious, to stay in remembrance of God, and to stay in remembrance of this time cycle. Then you will no longer become unconscious to be attacked by your consequence of your past karma. This is the only way to escape the consequence of your past bad karma, and no other way. Thanks for watching. If you have liked this video, please hit the thumbs up button and do subscribe this channel if you haven't subscribed already, and also hit the notification bell to get the notification of all our upcoming videos. And if you have anything to share with us, please leave it in the comment section, and please share this with your friends and family members so that they can also benefit out of it. Thanks again for watching.